And if anyone can interfere with stock market growth, it's Donald Trump. The swings will continue, only in the opposite direction. But it's clear that even a long-term upward trend cannot do without correction. Welcome to the Coin Post. If you have ever tried to make a prediction, you know what a difficult and thankless nightmare it is to try to look into the future. So I would like to remind you that this section is entirely dependent on your support. Today we're talking about the following topics. Will the S&P 500 continue to grow after the index hit a new all-time high last week? Why does Donald Trump keep fighting for the presidency and how it might affect stock prices? What is happening to the dollar this week? And finally, the Bitcoin price prediction, as Bitcoin refuses to go into correction and could continue its victory march. Subscribe to my YouTube channel please, and turn on the notifications to get new episodes first. Let's get into it. Last week, Amazon and Facebook lost 5% each, Microsoft dropped 3%, whereas Google and Apple showed a very modest increase of less than 1%. The S&P 500 hit a new all-time high, closing the week at 3,585 points due to growth in other sectors. Investors keep buying shares in companies that were once severely damaged by COVID-19. In the meantime, markets are still riding the wave of positivity following the Pfizer vaccine news, even though it also has a number of questions about efficiency, production, and use. In addition, co-authors of the vaccine, BioNTech company, made quite a weird statement, saying that we won't be able to get back to normal life until late 2021. And if an optimist celebrates another victory for humanity, a pessimist would ignore this statement because for them, COVID-19 is a worldwide conspiracy. A realist, though, realizes that masks and quarantine will remain with us for another year or so, with all the economic consequences. But the futures on the S&P 500 continue to be traded in the green zone, which means the stock market is prepared to continue growing this week too. And if anyone can interfere with stock market growth, it's Donald Trump, who has once again announced his victory in the US presidential election. And although, according to the preliminary results, most experts, as well as world leaders, who think Trump lost, and China also joined to congratulate Biden on the victory last week, he still continues his fight. His supporters gather rallies, and so he is a major joker for the financial markets for the nearest future. So far the market ignores Trump's actions in every way, but if he succeeds in challenging the results, the situation could change dramatically. Everyone remembers that the scenario with no winner in the presidential election is the worst for the stock market. In fact, that's what we have now, when one side won't recognize the results. But investors are ignoring this, betting that the vote is over, Biden's win is convincing enough, and that everything will be fine. There's a second scenario from Trump, and I'm sure his supporters might not like it, and trust me, I'm not rooting for anyone here, I'm just analyzing past events to try to predict the future. Now, we know that Donald is primarily a businessman, and he has an extremely fascinating negotiation strategy. When you refuse to cooperate first, to force your opponents to make concessions, and then you return to the dialogue. We saw a dramatic change of heart on his part, both in trade negotiations with China and in the second relief package to the US economy. Presumably, Trump is playing his game again, and this whole no-vote story is just about bargaining for certain privileges for the future Biden administration, as well as laying the groundwork for his run for presidency in 2024. And when he achieves his goal, he's gonna admit the results, which will provoke another rally in the stock market. I would add that if the first scenario with Trump's success could start working out this week, then the second could take 2 weeks or even more. Share your opinion on this in the comments, and we have the dollar and Bitcoin predictions next, so bear with us. The US dollar index is in the interim support, but as the stock price keeps growing, the US currency may drop a little. The new trade agreement signed by China, Japan, Australia, Thailand, Indonesia, and South Korea and other countries should help to ease it. But the dollar is unlikely to go down too far because all of these countries want to benefit from exports. So if last week we saw the dollar strengthening first and then falling, then in the next 5 days the swings will continue, only in the opposite direction. The oil market is growing too. The pandemic issue has been temporarily overshadowed by the new lockdown claims, and the forecast suggests decline of oil stock and drilling rigs in the US. If that's true, and if OPEC keeps willing to wait to increase production, then Brent crude oil price could hold above $43 a barrel and return to the $43 to $45 range. And that would be all about currencies for today, as I'm moving on to cryptocurrencies. Thank you all for watching this video, and give us a thumbs up please, I would appreciate it. Last weekend, the Bitcoin price dropped below 16K, which triggered a heated debate in the community as to whether the long-awaited correction had begun. But it didn't take long before it surged again on Monday. Moreover, Bitcoin has been growing for the 7th week in a row, and the main question is, can this continue? There are a number of factors that suggest the long-term stability of the current upward trend. There's also the money printing machine, which increases the demand for risky assets, and the bankers' predictions that Bitcoin is starting to steal gold's market share. And if this trend continues, its capitalization could grow in 10 years, from $300 billion to $3 trillion. But it's clear that even a long-term upward trend cannot do without correction. But this week we might not see it again, and even try to hit a new 2020 all-time high. These triangles on the chart suggest that Bitcoin is perfectly capable of making another surge to nearly $17,000. To sum it up, we expect the stock market to grow, but we should follow Trump's moves closely. The dollar and the euro continue to swing, and Bitcoin is getting ready for correction, but before that, it can hit a new all-time high. I'm looking forward to your comments with your predictions for the nearest future on various markets. And I remind you to share this video and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate your support. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching. It's the Coin Post channel. Subscribe and get enlightened.